pink ball test is upon us, so just how many day-nights will it last? Will that brutal blow have a lasting impact on Usman Khawaja? Michael Clarke gives us his thoughts. Plus, should the Big Bash be condensed? Aaron Finch thinks so. Let's go around the wicket. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Around the Wicket. I'm Neroli Meadows. Great to have your company and great to have Callum Ferguson and the officially, recently done and dusted, retired Aaron Finch at the desk. Must feel good.
Very good. A lot more relaxing these days.
Love to have you on Around the Wicket, joining us as part of the official team right throughout, Fincher. You're still part of our team, which is the important thing. Speaking of teams, there's been some news just in, and an old teammate of yours, Jake Fraser-McGurk, is getting his opportunity potentially to make his debut for the green and gold. Just 21 years of age, he's come into the ODI squad today to replace Glenn Maxwell, who's been deemed unavailable through a bit of soreness, a bit of injury. Also, Xavier Bartlett comes in as a quick for the injured Jai Richardson. How do you feel about this for Jake? It's
a great move, I think. He's got so much talent. We've seen the skill level that he can play at. I mean, players like this don't come around every day, do they, Ferg? So you've got to get them in young, get them around the Australian cricket team environment, because that's a difficult place, and it's a place where the first time you come in, you can be out of your depth at times. So the earlier that he comes in, the better.
How special is he going to be?
Oh, very special, I think. He's made his first-class 100 this year. He made the fastest domestic one-day 100 in the history of the game earlier this year, which is something because he's knocked off AB de Villiers of all players. So he's got all the assets that you need. He's got great strike power. But I also think he's got the ability to hit 360, so it's not just slogging to the leg side or down the ground. He hits all around the ground. He's got a huge future ahead of him. T20
World Cup this year. Do you think he's a chance, as they look to a bit of youth with an ageing team, that he could make that squad?
Yeah, I think that there's a really good case for him. I think there's a few others in front of him, I think, just for the versatility of Matt Short, who's at the top of the order but has played for Australia in the middle order. So I think there'll be a little bit of competition there should they go with that direction, but he's well and truly in the conversation.
It's going to be one to watch, isn't he? A star of the future. Great to see him in the green and gold squad at the moment. And just before we move on, Michael Clarke joining us shortly. But Ferg, you were in Adelaide for all 2 and a bit days of that test, and you got to witness Travis Head, the local boy, do it live. You would have been happy as the Prince of Adelaide, is it? They call you?
Oh, no, come on, don't give me that one. But Heady's well and truly got the keys to Adelaide. Now, Travis just keeps making the runs when everyone else is struggling in tricky conditions. We've seen it for years now. Bellerive Oval a few years ago. Gabba in a 2-day test last year as well against South Africa. He stands up in big games. Test Championship this year. World Cup finals. Extraordinary talent in big games. You can't buy that on the shelf.
He also gets player of the match in the games and in the post-match celebrations
Always.
as well.
Yes.
Right across the board. He's a all-rounder when it comes to that. And he did get player of the match in Adelaide, which is a little controversial. So we'll have that discussion after the break with Michael Clarke, because it was, of course, also Josh Hazlewood who was on fire.
Oh, he's flying at the moment, isn't he? Getting up to test level in terms of getting your body ready for test cricket, you know, once you're up there, you're okay. But if you kind of have an injury and you're set back, it's sometimes hard to get going. So I think he just had some injuries at the wrong times over the last couple of years and missed a couple of key series. But yeah, he's back to, I guess, the Joshy that we all remember and know, and just shows his worth to the team with the new ball. He can strike early and have them 2 or 3 down before you kind of know it. But just right-handers, left-handers, basically all conditions, he finds a way. And as a captain, it's pretty easy to give him the ball and just know he's going to go to work. And he showed his class on 2 very different wickets.
Oh, well, I had a few conversations with the boys in the dressing room. I told them that I would get a wicket on my first ball, but I didn't know it was Steve Smith. So I think that went well for me. He's one of my favourite players, to be fair. I really love Steve Smith, the way that he play and go about his cricket. And getting Steve Smith, I remember this for the rest of my life. I'll actually take a picture with that nickel and post it up in my house.
Did the second wicket feel as good as the first one?
No, not at all.
And the 6 of Josh Hazlewood?
That was amazing for me. Hitting just for a 6 is really good for me. Cause I think he's really consistent. He's the most consistent bowler I ever faced so far in my career. So hitting him for a 6 motivates me a lot. So I think I could hit any batsman now, any bowler. Sorry.
Do you think you might move up the batting order?
Well, I'm not sure. 11 good for me so far. 11 good for me so far.
What a fantastic character, Shamar Joseph, doing it with bat and ball and in front of the media in his Test debut in Adelaide. We'll talk about him shortly, but Michael Clarke joins us now. Pup, thanks for coming on Around the Wicket once more. Another thing that Shamar Joseph did was cop Usman Khawaja early, high in the head, real brutal blow, and that saw Usman Khawaja go off the ground when there was only 1 run required. That kind of blow at this point in a player's career, can it stay in the back of your mind and affect the mindset?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, look, he's a super talent. There's no doubt about it, with both bat and ball. I think what it will do for Uzi, who plays the short ball pretty well, he's got a beautiful pull shot. But I think some teams now will probably try that as a plan B. And generally you do that to a lot of batters anyway. But I think Uzi, who has probably been extremely comfortable playing that short ball, it will be something that might be in the back of his mind now. I think West Indies particularly, they now go to the Gabba. That pitch will have a bit more pace and bounce, certainly under lights. I think if they don't nick Uzi off early, then I think they'll go to that, even put 2 blokes back and try and target that short pitch bowling. But like I say, he plays it pretty well. He's a little older now than when he started, and I think generally things don't move as quickly as they probably do when you're a youngster. But yeah, I think more than anything, if I was the West Indies, I'd probably use that early in Uzi's innings if he does play at the Gabba, just to let him know that he's going to cop a fair few of them, just to try and play with his mind more than anything else. But I don't think Usman will be too concerned because he plays the short ball well.
Finchy, as you got to the end of your career, was it genuinely something you were a bit more fearful of or aware of?
Oh, not in the game. I think once you get out in the middle and your adrenaline starts pumping and you're looking to take the bowlers on, then that fear doesn't come into it. For me personally, it was more so in the nets that I started to get quite worried about it and almost bat to survive the net session and not get hurt rather than looking to improve all the time. So for me, that was just the main difference.
Shamar Joseph, though, what a star, pup. How do we keep him? That's the question. How do we make sure he sticks around and wants to play Test cricket for a long time to come?
I think you know the answer to that. Cash is king. It's going to come down to money, unfortunately. You look at this West Indies team, they're very inexperienced, very young, super talented. So if they could keep this same squad for 5 years, I think West Indies cricket gets back to where they want to be. The problem they've got is the West Indies players are, their highest paid player might be getting $200,000 US in regards to a contract. That same player is now going to get an offer for IPL for $1.5 million. So, look, he's a superstar and he's only been around for 5 minutes. So I think he's got to go through ups and downs. He's probably going to have a few injuries as a young fast bowler, but he looks like he can bat a bit as well. And his personality is fantastic. So it's been a great start for him in his Test career. As he just mentioned, getting his favourite player out first ball probably helps as well. But now, he's going to be approached by a number of different franchises around the world to go and be a part of their setup, and that's going to be a huge risk for West Indies cricket. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it works these days. I don't know how the countries that are not getting paid significant amounts of money to play for their players to play for them, and I'm probably talking about the big 3: Australia, England, and India. All the other countries, it's very hard to hang on to your players now. So that's a challenge West Indies are going to face. I hope for Test cricket's sake and for West Indies cricket's sake, they can keep this squad together for a long time.
Pup, we just saw the image there of Shamar Joseph asking Steve Smith to tie up his shoelace as well while he was batting. Yeah. If a debutant came to you when you were at the tail end of your career, how would you have responded?
I think you'd bend down and do their shoelace up. But yeah, I think you can see when he's walking up to Smitty as well. He's uncertain. Do I ask? Do I not ask? What do I do? But look, I think it's great. I think it's respectful of Smitty as well. I think if he needed someone to do his lace up, they'd do it. So it's no different as an Australian or an experienced Australian player. It all makes no difference. But amazing story. Where he's come from in such a short space of time. Again, I'm trying to be as complimentary and gentle as I can on this young West Indies team. But, the Australian summer needed someone from this West Indies team to stand up and just be a story for us. And he's done that so far in this first test. I hope there's a batsman from the West Indies team that can stand up and do it in this second test at the Gabba.
I just love the fact that as Steve Smith walked away, you could see him sort of shaking his head and enjoying the moment of what just happened as well. But Pup said earlier, cash is king. I tell you what, a couple of bat sponsors, those sort of things will help. Surely he doesn't have a plain bat for this second test from Joseph.
Oh, you couldn't possibly. I mean, what did he bring to the table? He brought sixes, he brought wickets. So I think he's going to offer someone something. So fingers crossed for him.
One of those sixes came off the bowling of Josh Hazlewood, who took 9 for 79 throughout that match. Pup, was he a little unlucky not to be named player of the match, do you think?
Yep, definitely. Should have got man of the match. I think that's a no-brainer. Travis Head's innings was exceptional on a pretty tough batting wicket, but no, you take 9 wickets. I think this happens a lot in sport, though, as well. In cricket, generally, like we see it with Allan Border medal and things like that, it generally goes to the batter, man of the matches. NFL goes to the quarterback. Rugby league goes to the halfback or hooker. Like that happens, and it's... Yeah, I don't think the individual cares to. I don't think Josh would really care. But I think if you're taking 9 wickets in a test match versus a player getting 100, I think Josh deserved it. And that's taking nothing away from Travis. I think that was a great innings and his form continues. He continues to score runs under pressure and deserves the credit that he gets. But I think Joshua was brilliant. I think he has been for a long time. There was some doubts around his fitness in regards to getting back into Test cricket, but he's proved a lot of people wrong. And yeah, this attack it's been stellar. Honestly, there's a lot of talk about a number of different attacks that have represented Australia, but these 4 they've got to be up there in the conversation.
Well, you caught the end of the Warne, McGrath, those types. What do you think? Who is the best ever attack for Australia, and perhaps even globally? But we've never seen an attack where each 4 of the bowlers have more than 250 wickets, and that's what's happening right now. Yeah, and again, these guys deserve a lot of credit. I don't think they deserve. I don't think they get the credit they probably deserve. They've copped a lot of criticism. But as a combination, they work really well together. If Starkey's not firing, then Paddy Cummins comes on and takes wickets. If Hazlewood's not getting wickets, then Lino's taking wickets. So I think they deserve a lot more credit than they've received. But I guess my mind probably goes to who would I prefer to face? Who would worry me more in regards to getting me out? I think Glenn McGrath would have found extremely difficult to survive against, and he didn't give you a bad ball. So it's hard for me not to put Pigeon on that pedestal as a fast bowler. And then I can guarantee I'd rather face anybody else than Shane Warne. Any team with Warne in it was a better team. So I don't think it's fair to compare eras, but McGrath and Warne, I can't go past those 2. So it'd be those 2. Plus, I'd find another 2 fast bowlers, and that's a tough conversation. But as a combination, these 4 are brilliant. These 4 are the best in the world, in my opinion. All conditions around the world, they're finding a way to take wickets, and I think that's the key. It's not just about individual statistics. It's about taking 20 wickets and winning games for your country. So this summer, I think they're doing what's expected of them. Next summer might be a little bit more difficult. India have come here and had success against the Australian attack. So let's see how they go next summer. But at the moment, they've been just about perfect. And they play across all forms. You've captained them as well in white ball cricket and quite a bit of white ball cricket. Josh Hazlewood, as we just saw there, 1 wicket away from cracking the top 10 in Test level of equaling Dizzy Gillespie. So that's how good this group of bowlers are. But Josh Hazlewood in particular, he's an interesting bloke because he's so cool, calm, collected. Is he like that everywhere?
He's exactly like that everywhere he goes. He doesn't, I guess, go out of his comfort zone a huge amount, but what he does, he's just got the utmost respect of everybody around the cricket world, and anybody who meets him, they love him because he's such a genuine person. I think the fact that he's always been tagged as a test bowler, and everyone could see the success he could have there. But how well he's upskilled to become a great ODI bowler and a great T20 bowler now, and to become somebody who's had so much success over 3 formats of the game shows longevity. But upskilling when you're already at the top of your game is such an incredibly tough thing to do, because you can get so caught up in the fact that you do things really well and this is what I do, so I want to keep doing them. But to take time out and to be able to say, you know what, I need to add this to my game, or I need to add that to my game, or a new variation, that just shows a great work ethic, but also a humility as well, that you can see whatever he does is for the betterment of the team.
And one thing that I love about Josh, we spoke about Travis Head and the celebrations and off the field. It doesn't matter how many beers Josh sinks, he is exactly the same,
Yes.
isn't he? Typical country bloke. At the end of the night, when everyone else gets just a little bit messy, Josh will still be Josh.
That's right. Unaffected.
Unaffected,
Yeah, that's right.
exactly. Just on the bowling though, the one criticism, Pup, for quite a few months now has been that 10th wicket partnership and getting that 10th wicket. What do they need to do differently? Do they need to be targeting the stumps a little more? Because as we saw throughout the Adelaide Test, that's not happening at the moment, and Pat Cummins is the skipper.
Geez, we're clutching at straws if we're going to be critical of them for anything, to be honest. So, I don't know. Maybe, you can, I don't know, what do you do, bowl more at the stumps? I was generally the opposite as a captain. I had the aggressive approach to the tail. So I know they've copped some criticism about bowling too short, but it's hard for me to criticise. That was my take to the fast bowlers as well. It was really capitalise on that short pitch bowling to push the tail ender back and let him know that you're going to cop as many bounces as we can give you, and then the occasional ball attack the stump. So I don't know. If you're getting 10 of them out, you probably don't have to change too much to get 11. So that's probably the message that Paddy Cummins would be presenting to the team, to just keep it simple and let's not change too much. Let's not think about batting before we're batting. Let's not, go too aggressive on short pitch bowling. Let's just do whatever we're doing for the first 10 and just, try and finish our job. That's all it is.
Maybe a broken arm or two, Pup. Finchy, you think something a little differently, though.
Sorry.
I think that, yes, the short ball tactic works, but I think that also it can be really difficult to contain runs as well during that period. And, I mean, tailenders are just swinging for the fences, so get it away from them. They will make a mistake. There's not tailenders who are prepared to grind it out. So, for me, I think they need to be a little bit smarter with how they use it.
Pup, we're running out of time, but I can't let you go without getting your predictions for this day-night test at the Gabba. How quick are we talking?
Australia need to lose the toss and be sent into bat. If Australia win the toss and bowl first, I'm praying it goes into day 3. I'm nervous though. I don't know if it's touching day 3. There you go. If Australia bowl first.
And you're a bit worried about Mitch Starc with a pink ball.
Mitch Starc with a pink ball is lethal. What I saw with the techniques of the West Indies players and their attitude to grinding out a total, it's not going to look good.
When Starkey's bowling with that pink ball, it's like Halley's Comet coming at you down the other end. It's nightmarish and it hits your bat before you're expecting it. It's going to be hard work for him.
But great to get your thoughts as always. We'll see you after this test, however long it lasts. Don't go anywhere on Around the Wicket. We're going to chat Big Bash after this short break.
Looking at Test cricket and looking at how competitive other teams are, and we're coming up against West Indies after the new year, a lot of their players have gone to T20 leagues. So a way to potentially get around it is almost to follow how women's cricket is and how they got Test cricket back in, and that's a multi-format series. So create points for the ODIs, the tests, the one-off tests and T20s.
Lisa Sthalekar, the Hall of Famer, joined us on Around the Wicket a month ago, and in recent days there's been articles written about that very idea. So Lisa, you're onto it first. Finchy, is there some merit in what she's saying? Teams like the West Indies, should we be maybe looking at the women's format, which is a multi-format, instead of a couple of tests?
I think it's definitely an option, but I think you'll still get the same result because there'll still be a test match there. Teams, you need to rejig your team, different players for different formats. So I think the standard of the test match would still be the same. They'd still be more invested in the white ball components of the series. depending on how many tests and one-dayers or T20s there were, the lower ranked teams would almost forego that test match. Say, right, we'll put our eggs in the white ball basket and still try and win it. So, yeah, it's a good option, but I still think we'll face the same problems.
You're a white ball great, but you always valued that baggy green above all else.
Yeah.
How worried are you about Test cricket at the moment?
Oh, I think Test cricket's in a little bit of danger, to be honest. I think there needs to be a lot more investment worldwide to keep players playing it. But I think it also goes to the boards. The boards need to prioritise Test cricket in their own country. I mean, we're seeing South Africa send a severely undermanned team because they're prioritising their own T20 domestic comp. And I understand that that's a cash flow thing and they need the money and there's a lot of investment in that. But that's a difficult one. But I do have some serious concerns about it.
Speaking of rejigging things, is it time that the Big Bash needs to be even more condensed? Because as you say, it's going up against the SA20 right now, losing international players, the IL T20 as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it has to. It has to be brought as tight as possible. I think that when we see how close the SA T20 is to the Big Bash, it's actually overlapping. That's not okay going forward. We need to try and make sure that the Big Bash is as tight as possible. But also with the foresight that we need to make sure Australian players are as accessible to this competition as possible as well. So there's a bit of water to go under the bridge to get it right, but I think it needs to be tighter.
I think other competitions have sensed an opportunity to be able to overlap with the Big Bash because there's been almost a complacency at time on how important and how big the Big Bash is in the world picture. Going for 8 weeks. You're not attracting the best players in the world for the money that we pay. When you can go to South Africa or you can go to the IL T20, earn just as much money but in 2.5 or 3 weeks, not get taxed on it either. So there's another component to it. So I think keep condensing it because people want to play in the best competitions. But if it's 6 weeks even, that's a long time over the Christmas break to be away from your family.
Some tournaments are actually at the point of being able to play for 3 weeks and be done with the tournament. So you're almost in the same length of time you're playing a Big Bash, able to play 2 tournaments and double your money. So something has to change.
There's talk that the ACT could come in as well. There's also talk that the draft needs to go. What do you think about those two things?
Yeah, I agree the draft needs to go. I think it's... To have the draft so late in the year, people are already committing to the other leagues because they're able to sign direct with teams. So then you get Adelaide Strikers and Brisbane Heat, where guys are going off to other tournaments because they're already committed to it. Let teams be able to sign players now. If Sam Billings wants to sign for the Brisbane Heat or the Melbourne Renegades, I don't think it should matter. What was your other question?
ACT?
ACT, I think there's not enough. I think we're already a bit thin at the moment with the talent pool to get another side in. I think the obvious one is that the Sydney Thunder, they move to Canberra. I think the Melbourne Renegades eventually will move to Geelong, and I think that would then start to develop a bigger fan base, and also, I mean, makes sense to me personally.
Fascinating stuff from Aaron Finch there. We know how long you've had a deep involvement in the Big Bash and how much you care about it as well. So everything you're saying comes from a place of wanting it to be great.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It is a great product, and I've loved playing at Marvel for the last 13 years, but I think there will become a time when footy starts to come earlier and earlier and the squeeze comes on again. And I think that you have to look at all those different options.
Don't go anywhere because after this short break, we're going to get stuck into the short stuff. Time to take on the short stuff. England are in India. How are they going to go? And we're going to see a little bit of baseball.
I think we'll definitely see baseball, but I don't think it'll work overly well in India. The wickets, they'll deteriorate quickly. They're already going to spin from the start. And with Harry Brook not being there for personal reasons, I think that's a huge blow to their middle order.
The last bit you said with a serious face, the first bit I couldn't help but notice the giant smile on your face as you said they're probably not going to go that well with baseball. 2 super overs, speaking of India, up against Afghanistan. Incredible scenes. But Rohit Sharma retired out and then came back to bat again. Right or wrong?
Absolutely right. No problems with me. The only thing I'd say is why aren't bowlers allowed to bowl in both?
Because it's a rule of the game.
I'm hearing
you can't bowl back-to-back overs. You can't bat if you're already out.
Yeah, so they've got to change the rules. But I think Rohit Sharma at the moment is within his rights to bat twice because it's in the rule.
It's in the rules. Out. He's retired out. If he's retired hurt, he can come back.
Love the
Rubbish.
passion.
Yeah.
Rubbish,
Kevin
Ferg.
Peterson has come out on Twitter and said 100 metre 6 should be worth 12, and it's happening. He said it's happening. We don't know where it's happening, and you never know with KP. Do you like it?
Not really. I think that then it's just tailored to a handful of players around the world. So not with you on this one, KP.
I'm off it. I don't like it because it's all computer generated. So how do you know?
A bit like DRS.
Would it have gone 100?
A little drive-by there, should a test start on a Wednesday?
No, it doesn't work. And particularly, you've got to read, I think, the room and the schedule that's coming up. If you've got the West Indies coming up, it looks like a bit of a mismatch. Don't start it on a Wednesday. You might not make the weekend. And
Finally, who are you going to miss most? Warner, this bloke, or Sauce? I'm going to miss this.
Oh, no, this bloke here.
Join us next time.